Hi, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning on this beautiful day. And I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled to be joined by the wonderful Fiona, who I have known for many years. Many years, I think. It's got to be.
I came to one of your events like a couple of
Yeah,
years prior to COVID, a couple of years prior to COVID. Yeah.
absolutely.
This lovely little idyllic village somewhere
It
in
was
Surrey.
beautiful, wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. I need to do that again.
Yeah.
So, we're talking all things preschool today. Now, it's an area that obviously Fiona is absolutely passionate about because she has developed courses for teachers and for dance school owners all about this subject. But it's also an area that I love myself. So I'm really excited to get into this. So if you're joining us, there we go. You're already on it. Good morning, lovely ladies. We will be taking questions as we go. We can have a look. We can see them as they come in, guys. So please feel free to get involved in the conversation with. So, Fiona,
Yes.
welcome
Hello.
to
Thank
the
you for having
Den.
me.
Welcome to the conversation with. Now, tell me a little bit about yourself, about how you got into teaching, what your background
Okay.
is.
Well, I think
What
like
you
a lot of people, I've been dancing since I was 3.
Mhm.
And I went to, a local dance school. I was very lucky. I grew up in Epsom. So my local dance school ended up being, but by the time I was 8 or 9, they theatre arts and their junior department. And at the time in the 80s, we had a lot of the same teachers that the full-time college students had. So as an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old and into my teens, I was having sometimes on my own classes with amazing teachers who are quite, well known. So I was very lucky. So I decided not to go into it full time. I did various other jobs, done sales, recruitment, admin, secondary school teaching, normal academic subjects, and been teaching. But then I decided to go back into dance. Been teaching dance for 19 years. I worked for other people, like most of us do, which was a good thing. For quite a long time, and then taught complete mixture of styles and ages. I was thrown in with preschoolers. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I gradually decided that actually I probably should take the plunge of running my own school. And to be honest, I'd always said you've got to be a complete mug to run your own dance school. but then I literally realised I was round the corner, 5-minute walk from this incredible facility, just a lovely community centre with a lovely big hall and like a cafe attached to it and other rooms, etc. And parking. And I live in the southeast, so there's not much parking. So it's actually our 10th anniversary of my own school next week, which is very exciting.
Congratulations.
Yes. Boy, what a 10 years.
Yeah. Thanks,
What
COVID.
Yeah. Yes, that's me.
Yeah, we've all got a few extra grey hairs. Yeah.
I was brunette. I think probably when you met me years ago, I was proper dark brunette, and I'm so grey now. I'm going not just blonde. I'm actually considering growing out the grey now because I'm so grey. I can't even keep up with it with blonde. So I'm just like, this is just
Embrace the greyness. We love it.
Yeah.
So why preschool then? I mean, you said you've got thrown into preschool, and I think many teachers actually do. Do you know what I mean? They sort of go, oh yeah, you're going to be teaching this, that, and the other, and oh yeah, and by the way, you've got these 2 to 3-year-olds, off you go, sort of thing. And I mean, I know in my own school, I do a very comprehensive training on my 3 to 5-year-olds because I think they are the most difficult to manage. And I think it needs a different skill set, which we all have as teachers, I believe. Fundamentally, we are all in there. It's just we have to tap into a slightly different way of working or describing or being a bit more creative in how we teach. So, I mean, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent. We knew tangents were coming with me.
That's fine. It's all good.
So tell me why preschool for you?
Yeah,
what's that feeling?
When I started teaching, I was kind of thrown in, and I literally thought, as I'm sure a lot of people do when they're young and naive, well, this would be easy. I won't need to even prepare. I just So I've been given some music and we'll just put it on and they'll like whatever we do. And of course that was, I mean, I literally was the worst possible preschool dancer, the worst possible preschool dance teacher when I started. But so I very, very, very quickly had to learn that, oh, you actually do have to plan these lessons. And if anything, you've got to plan these lessons more than you plan any other lessons.
And then have the backup things in your back pocket that you can just produce.
Yeah.
Suddenly, when everything goes pear-shaped.
Yeah, exactly. Always some extra tracks. So I did learn, and I was very lucky because I had lovely people that I worked for who did give me some mentoring. But there's never been a really kind of specific training, really, certainly in the UK, for teachers around just teaching preschoolers in terms of how do you actually plan a class, not just, oh, here's some nice ideas of things to do, which is what people talk about, I think, a lot. I've noticed the past few years a lot on Facebook. Any more ideas of what I can do with my preschoolers, ideas of things to do, rather than what do they really need? What really works? How do I actually put together a class that flows imaginatively and that will keep them engaged? So that's what I worked out really. And what I want to do is give people those tools and a kind of planning method so that they can kind of take a shortcut from the journey that I had, which was working that all out gradually. You know, and I think it's interesting you say about digging in, you know, you believe, this is what I think, that we've all got it within us to be able to do this. We don't all have to do it. No one says we have to, but I think a lot of people don't think that they are a little child person. And that was me. I didn't think I was a little child person. I was the youngest out of like 35 cousins. So I never really spent time with younger children because I was the younger child. So it wasn't really something I'd ever had to do, was spend time with little children. And so I didn't feel like I knew how to do that at all. I didn't feel like I felt like you maybe had to be like this sort of Disney princess. Well, no, initially I thought you had to be like Trunchbull, Miss Trunchbull. And then I thought, oh no, maybe you have to be like a Disney princess, but actually it's neither of those things. I like to think more of like a Mary Poppins. So it's kind of a nice middle ground. But I do think we can think, oh, I don't know how to make things magical. But actually, I think we've all got it within us to really give children what they need. You know how sometimes you'll be like, I don't know, some family do or wedding or whatever, and the kids will kind of congregate sometimes around the person who might least naturally think that they're a small child person, because there's something about them. You know, they might just be really good at locking into one particular idea about something and making it come alive to children. It's not necessarily about being like a Miss Honey or Disney princess. Sometimes it's about taking daily mundane ideas and making them into something magical. So yes, the reason why I really believe strongly, I'll talk about the reasons why I set up what's currently called Vanilla Dance, it's changing, is my journey. So I did used to dread preschool classes, and then they're like past, you know, since before I opened my school, I kind of knew that I could open a school because I'd actually got to the point where I knew that I would get in lots and lots of little ones, and then I'd be able to grow my school because I became really good at it, because I'd had to work really hard at it. Sometimes your biggest struggle is your biggest strength, isn't it? And that's really what happened to me. That was my biggest struggle and it became my biggest strength. So we've had huge waiting lists for all my early years classes for years now. Talk about that later. But yeah, I really feel it's possible for teachers to learn these skills, even if they don't feel like it's naturally them. It is really, really important that we do give training on this, which I get frustrated by the fact that there hasn't been any out there for years, because it is so important. And if you think about, I mean, those people out there who have got little children, you know, they're the most precious thing in the world to you. And when someone's entrusting you with their precious child at such a young age, it feels so, anything like a class feels like so, it gets a bit easier as they get older. You're like, yeah, off you go for a weekend here, there, whatever, you know. But when they're little, they're really entrusting you. And it's really important that you are considering what you're delivering. And of course, people do. But if they're very much our bread and butter, then I do think it's a bit mad how there's very little lack of training out there. It's just, I think it's bizarre. So what I really want to do is give people a kind of logical planning method for creating nice themed classes that flow, and also giving people the kind of delivery tool checklist checklist. So like all the kind of how you actually manage a class, how you kind of carry a class along, all the different strategies that you can work on. Because I think literally if I'd had this checklist of strategies to work through, that would have been amazing. I would have got there a lot quicker. Just learning some of the ways that you interact with children. Yeah.
I think you've touched on quite a few little points there that are really, really, really crucial. And I think picking up one of the last things, it's about managing also the numbers, because sometimes, I mean, my preschool classes are large. So it is myself. It is also quite a few assistants that I have on board, between 3 and 4 assistants per class, which I know seems like a large amount. But as a teacher, you're then not only managing the class and the content, but you're also managing the assistants.
Managing the assistants,
which is a different skill set in its own right. But ultimately, they are there to add to the experience that those children are getting, and be a support for you. So if they don't know what they're doing, then they also need that mentoring from you in some ways, or direction from you, you know, so that they're not just stood there going, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm like, you're supposed
they
to be
tend to just kind of, if
like an animal, like the rest of them are. Down you go. I'm almost 50. You're young. Down you go.
Yes. But at the same time, also, if you don't give them direction, sometimes all they do is just do what the kids are supposed to be doing, and aren't looking out for the other things that you need to do. Like if a kid is looking a bit, you know, and it's those things, isn't it? I always say to the assistants, you know, when you're not here just to dance the class the same as them, you want them to do that, and they've got to do it, but also it's looking out for all the other things. So managing assistants is definitely.
But it's interesting you said about the it's the how, which is what you teach realistically. It's the how you bring that magic to the everyday. I love what you said there. And sometimes it is randomly something that'll, you know, get an idea, will spark something that will end up turning into a movement game, or a something, you know, something like that. So I think that's what you teach, isn't it? It's the how you do that. But also something else you touched on was the bread and butter. It fundamentally is the bread and butter of many, many dance schools. And I know when I first opened my dance school, I didn't touch preschool. I did it the wrong way. I started at the top. I started at secondary, and then built my school down, which is bizarre, but that's what I did.
A lot of people do, actually. This is why they need people like you to help them not do that.
Thank you. But I think, well, preschool, realistically, okay, it's a bread and butter. It's the fundamental part. So why do you believe it is the fundamental part of the dance, other than the fact that if you build it, you can help it grow?
Well, this is where the demand is. So yes, so there's so much demand for preschool classes. So it makes sense to get them in and help make the money, because it essentially can end up, it shouldn't really, but it can end up for some schools subsidizing, you know, some of your little classes at the top end. I know you do tackle that, Sarah, and about, you know, sometimes having to cut that class. I know that you do, but sometimes you do have to. But equally, you know, it can help subsidize those classes. You know, like I found coming out of COVID, I had girls that had stuck through Zoom, older seniors. We'd lost a lot of seniors. I think a lot of people did, and those that stuck with it, I was like, they are going on point soon. You know, they were at that point where they should be going on point, and I was like, we are going to do it. I don't care. There's only 3 in the class. I did care eventually, and we've merged them with another class, but you know, for a while, you know, there are going to be times sometimes where you do have a small class, so that, you know,
it's a very difficult call when you hit that
can
point.
end up subsidizing those classes. It shouldn't necessarily, and I know that's your bag, but we need to have enough. We know that they're going to drop off. We know that they're, you know, year 3, year 4, certainly by if they stay into year 3, they tend to stay till year 5. If they stay into year 6, they tend to stay into year 7. This is what I find. But there's going to be those, especially when you start going to the bar, which they're all excited about, and then when they actually do it, they're like, oh, it's actually just quite hard work. You know, and when you start doing certain things, they find it quite hard work, and they've got other things. They've got boys, they've got other, goodness knows what. It's all football and gymnastics around here with me. Rugby as well.
Down here. Not
that rugby as well. No, you know that they're going to drop off, so you've got to have plenty coming in through. But also, it makes sense to be training them from a young age in how you want them to be. So in terms of their musicality and movement, encouraging it, but also as well, it's this building relationship. One of the things that keeps me going in, let's face it, it's a very hard job running a dance school. We're the only people that understand the people that do it. What I love is that we get to see them from that age and build that relationship all the way through. I mean, I get like emotional about it. Get to see them all the way through, you know. So 10 years in, I've got kids that started in the first year and now they have just started assisting in classes. They're like year 8s who've just started assisting in classes, and it just makes my heart sing. A couple of them are just amazing, you know, and we've built that relationship with them and we get to watch them grow. But also, particularly for your preschoolers, I can't stress how invaluable it is to them and the parents that you have continuity from that preschool class as they move into school. You might be the only continuity they have apart from their family. So they have all this big change that happens in reception, huge, and the parents are anxious, and that rubs off on the kids. And, you know, and it's all quite a lot. And you can be that continuity. So by the way, if you're currently those people out there thinking about how do I make sure the current preschoolers stay with us into reception, this is something you can talk about. You know, we're so glad that we get to be that lovely continuity for them so they can keep coming to us in September and still have that familiarity every week. You know, it might not be the same teacher, but that's actually a huge thing. And I think we sometimes underestimate how big that is for children and for parents at this age. So there's loads of reasons to be doing preschool classes. There is huge demand out there, just huge demand out there. And also you can really, what I like as well, what I've come to realize running my own school, is that you can really build your preschool classes because there isn't necessarily a syllabus, although some people do, I know, use franchises. You use one of them, Sarah? I can't remember.
No.
And licensed syllabi, and there's some great ones out there. But I know people often end up adapting them anyway, and lots of people do find one size does not fit all, and they prefer to do their own, which is kind of where I come in. You can really design those classes around your values and your way of doing things. So, for example, some of my values are imaginative and intelligent. So all of our classes are themed, and it's all about the imaginative flow through the class. And the intelligence stuff, we're trying to put as much in there, like early years framework stage stuff in there as possible. We talk as much as we can about colours, shapes, numbers, countries, animals, obviously all sorts of things, you know, and really have them learning stuff. Parents love that. They love that. And it's helping prepare them for school. Again, parents love that. And also positivity is one of ours. So we try and include like a positive message wherever we can. It's like, well, what kind of positive message can we put in for like a toy box theme? Something about, even if we just say it once or twice in class or a few times and say it as we're letting them out and the parents hear it because they love it. Sometimes the oldest toys in the toy box are the best ones, you know, like little positive messages about things. Or if you're doing something about the world, and it might be something about trees or the importance of looking after the world. You know, I think there's so much room for really just imparting so much loveliness and positivity to these kids, because we can make them what we want. We can literally make them, we can have a vision. Everyone's preschool classes might be very, very different. You know, I think this is what I love about it, is that everyone's got a very different vision for what they want to deliver. But you can make it what you want, and I think that's really amazing, and you can really give what you want to that age group. Anyway, I'm really like blah 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 blah. I told you I'd be blah 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 blah.
I think what you're really trying to say in all of this is that you're elevating the experience that the children are getting. Yes. And when it comes to selling, for want of a better word, your preschool classes, I mean, realistically, when you elevate that experience that the children get, combined with the experience that the parents get, and that is in their journey in terms of how you communicate, how easy it is for them to book their child on, you know, all that sort of thing. When you put those two together, bam, you don't really need to sell, because the classes sell themselves.
That's it, they do.
When the people come in, but you've got to have the two things working side by side, tickety-boo, for want of a better word. But
and your systems, because you know, I've had huge waiting lists for past 10 years honestly, you know, I'm not just boasting, it's true. We have a problem of capacity, and I've built out the capacity, but we still, I mean, I could put on 10 preschool classes a week if I wanted to. I just haven't got the teachers at the moment. You know, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 preschool classes at the moment, but I need to be putting on 10 to fill the demand. It's
I
partly
have 4 too
childish.
as well, and I'm already full for September.
Yeah, this is it. And but again, you know, if your preschool classes are that good that you don't really have to advertise them, people are coming to you and you've got lists. What then happens is when some of them will drop off in reception, a lot of parents just can't face the idea of committing to anything beyond starting school in September. Then you've got this waiting list to draw from, and actually some of mine are on a year 2 waiting list that have been on there since the end of preschool, and I still haven't managed to get a class for them, you know. But you know, that's great, it's a nice problem to have, and then you've never got to worry about filling classes. I can get, you know, I can fill my class if a space comes up in a year 1 or year 2 class. I can fill it like that, because
It also means that you know that if you opened up a 5th, if you had another teacher, that you could pretty much,
totally,
there wouldn't be the worry of, oh my gosh, is this going to happen? So,
exactly.
tell me about the barriers to teaching great preschool classes, because I know, let's bring it back to the teachers. There may be some hesitation, there may be some worry, there may be some, like you say, there's, you know, we all trained in different ways and in different forms, and the preschool element of our training is not necessarily up there. So there may be some concerns about, oh, could I do it?
Exactly.
What if this happens? Well, I don't know how I would manage 23-year-olds in one
Yeah,
go, or how do I manage one
yeah.
3-year-old? Because it's,
So
again, different
it's
skill
very
sets.
much the two things. It's the creating a class plan and the delivery. And I always say, you know, I originally, when I planned my Become a Preschool Dance Pro course, which is the main course that I do, I was going to do it as 2 separate things: creating your classes, planning your classes, and delivering, managing, interacting with classes. But literally, you have to do both, and you have to be really sure that you are doing both. And you might think you're good at one, but actually it's the other that you need to work on. And so they both have to work together. And I think it is that having a repeatable planning method. So this is what I give people on the course: is a repeatable planning method. It's literally A, B, C, D, E, F. I think we got to F, and I think I stopped at F. A, B, C, D, E, F planning method, with lots of prompts for when you grab a theme and go, right, okay, let's say I'm going to use this theme. Right, what do I do? And it goes through a method for planning that class. So then you can get a bit creative and experiment a bit, and you know, you could, or it might be that you're tweaking classes that you've been given. You might work for somebody, you know, or you might have people that work for you, and you're happy for them to have a bit of flexibility around the class plan. It's like, well, this is the class plan. I'd like you to do 70% of that, or definitely do this, this, and this, and then you can tweak it around, you know, and they can have some creativity as well, which is quite nice. But to have that actual planning method, you know, there's never really been out there, I don't think, I've tried to find over the years, anyone going, right, this is how you plan a themed preschool class, and this is how you make it flow from one thing to the next. And so what people talk about on Facebook all the time is, has anyone got any ideas for what to do for this? Or it's all kind of disparate ideas rather than let's create something that really flows. And then the other thing, like it says, how to actually manage a class and walking in. I always say as well, if you imagine being a 3-year-old walking into this big room that's empty, essentially, with just people, you know, when they go into like nursery, preschool for the first time, at least there's things they can go and kind of grab, and it's kind of grounding. Whereas actually can feel quite weird, and you know, of course they want to run, because it's like, it's just a big space, you know, and you're not going in and there's desks or anything like that. So you do have to have a very clear idea. I always talk about having a starting and finishing ritual, which most people will have if they've been doing this for any length of time. They'll know that they need a start and finish ritual, but then how you actually manage them through the class as well. You know, I think there's a lot of catching up to do in the dance world still. I think we're still catching up with mainstream education in terms of how we think about little children, in terms of sort of rewards and punishments. And there is still this idea of naughty sort of flying around a bit. And we have to be really, really kind of shift the way we think about little ones. And once you do, this is what made the difference for me. Once I've really figured out, there's a famous quote, what is it? When the adults change, everything changes. And literally, I used to think, these kids, you know, when I started and I had no idea what I was doing. And then I realized actually it was me. I hadn't planned my class properly. And I hadn't really worked out how to interact with them and manage them, you know, and that wasn't really my fault. There wasn't any training out there. But once you've got those things, then you can gain confidence. Once you start building those skills, then you can gain confidence. So you don't have to feel like you're a magical Disney princess. You don't have to be running around like a headless chicken at 100 miles an hour. You don't have to have 50 props. I actually rarely use any props. I used one last week and I think they were all like, oh, what's this? We've got something to hold on to. I actually rarely use any props. You know, it doesn't all have to be pink, fluffy ones and sparkles. It's fine if you want to. That's great. Lovely. It's not me personally. If that's your thing, great. But you can just make a magical class out of quite mundane ideas and themes. And you don't have to have all the bells and whistles. It can still give children what they really need, what parents really want, and feel good for you. So it's like this little magic circle of a little like sweet spot between what the parents want, what the children really need, and what you feel happy doing, you know. And once you start building those skills, it's lovely. You know, I love teaching preschoolers. I would actually quite like to just
tell. You can tell.
They're just so funny. We're doing something the other day. You know, you always think that I must write down all the things they say. And we were doing cowgirls in America, because we're going around different countries in America. And I was like, and they've got lots and lots of cows in America. And there was a funny moment where I nearly said, because they eat loads of burgers. And I thought, oh, there's probably loads of vegetarians in the group, so I won't say that. And I said something about there being loads of cows. She's like, yeah, and chocolate coins. And I was like, yeah, okay. You know, that was random. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So yeah, I think how to plan a class, how to deliver it and interact with them, and just building that confidence in yourself. And even, you know, I've worked with quite a lot the past year of dance school owners who've been teaching for years and been teaching preschool for years, but who just had a lack of confidence in them, what they were delivering, and just needed to have almost like reassurance. What you're doing without all the bells and whistles that you think you need to have is actually fine, and it's great. And just do more of this. You know, there's just a few things you need to maybe add in. You don't have to be doing all the bells and whistles. You really don't. So yeah.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. It's the end, and I could literally talk to you for hours though. This is right, guys, if you've got any questions for Fiona before we wrap up, but before we do wrap up, Fiona, where can they find it? I know you've got like a theme freebie that they can like a little free thing that they've
got the link to pop in there. Have you got the link, or do you want me to get it?
Because we're on numerous. If you've got it, yeah. We're on numerous. Yeah, I got it. It depends. I'll go back in afterwards, and
I've put it on the StreamYard one.
Yeah, perfect.
So yes, I've got a website, and it's, if you're a dance school owner, there's a middle button that says dance school. So I deal with teachers who just teachers.
Yes, sorry, Fiona, just to butt in. Yeah. Whoever just posted that, loving this, but I need to go. Sorry, will this be available to watch? Yes, it will be live on the page and in the group and on YouTube. So yes, no problem. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and so I deal with teachers, but also dance school owners. I do have another. You'll see on there, if you click on the button on there for dance school owners, I do have a course called Craft Your Curriculum, which is specifically for dance school owners to get together. I know you love stationery, Sarah. I know lots of people love stationery, but ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get your class plans digitally organized if you haven't already. I know there's still people who haven't got them digitally organized. Get your preschool dance plans digital so that you can make them shareable with your team, so that you can increase capacity of classes. This is what I've been through the past few years, trying to increase the capacity of classes, not just dependent on me, so that you can also give consistency to every family, so that you've got a really consistent approach. And what we do in the Craft Your Curriculum is we get you to think about your vision for your classes, what are the important elements for you, because it's different for everybody, and then how you're actually going to create a kind of bespoke planning template, and we talk a bit about the marketing and stuff as well. But I do also, there's a button on there as well for anyone that's involved in teacher training. I'm very, very keen to start delivering some training specifically into approved dance centres for ISTD. I don't know what the other ones are called for the other brands. Any teacher training providers for dance teachers, I'm really interested in chatting to you as well. So there's a button on there as well. But if you scroll to the very bottom of those pages, there is a link to a free ultimate list of preschool dance themes that you can go away and have a look at.
So guys, any more questions for Fiona before we love you and leave you? If you do have any questions and you are watching in replay, if you use hashtag replay and either tag myself or Fiona, because she's certainly in my Dance Den group. Yes, she is. But if you can't tag her, then tag me, and I will make sure that Fiona gets the question, so that she can answer it post this live.
Give me an opportunity to talk again, and I'll take it. I'm just talking. I'm always happy to talk.
Love it. Awesome. Right. Well, I think that's about it for questions for now. But if you do have any, as I said, please reach out, tag us, and we'll keep an eye out for it post this. And please reach out to Fiona and check out her courses. I think it sounds absolutely fantastic. And even for someone like myself who's got their own comprehensive training, I'm sure I could learn, and my teachers could learn a thing or two from it as well. Like you say, I've been 24 years now, and that training is digitalized. You'd be glad to know.
Of course it is. Yeah. Drag you away from your stationery.
Dragging you my way from my notebooks. But yeah, it's so absolutely. I'm sure I could learn a thing or two as well. I'm always open to learning. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on a conversation with. And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you all next month for another conversation with. Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.
Bye.